As a reminder, I'm going to record this session just so we can play it back later if need be. I'm going to get all the videos posted from our recent sessions by Monday out on our YouTube channel, which you can find at the Office of Capital Facilities website. For those of you that are dialed in on the phone or at your computer, I've got your mics muted for the time being. Throughout the WebEx, I'll give you a chance to ask questions or just raise your hand on the participants chat and or shoot me a chat message and I'll unmute the mics if you've got a question. It should be a short WebEx. It's taken about anywhere from 30 minutes to 45 minutes depending on the number of questions asked. But we'll be covering today assets and a little bit about PMs or preventative maintenance and how that corresponds with an asset. After we discuss assets, we'll review the template and then of course any additional questions you guys may have, whether it pertains to assets or the employees and shops that we discussed 2 weeks ago. We can answer questions on that as well. So at this point in time, does anybody have any questions? Okay, I'll go ahead and get started. In AiM, we have asset management, and you have many different types of assets. We've got properties in as assets, we've got capital assets. For what we're doing, we're looking for PMable assets for O&M. And you might ask, what's a PMable asset? That's any asset you do a preventative maintenance on. So if you do preventative maintenance on a refrigerator, we want that asset in AiM. If you do preventative maintenance on an air handler, a chiller, we want to get that information into AiM. What is an asset? Let me remove some stuff here. So here we've got central plant boilers. If I go to the steam plant and I look at the asset, it's got an asset tag number. It's got a description of the asset. And what these are information about the asset and an ID to be associated with it. You can put up to 255 characters for the description, and if that's not enough room, over here on the left we have an extra description which holds up to 4,000 characters, and I hope that provides you enough room for any information you want to store about your asset. From there we have a region, a facility, which is a group of buildings, and then a property, which is the building itself, and then if you want to get real granular, you can put the exact location of room in which, excuse me, the boiler is located or whatever your asset is. If it's an asset that is not currently connected to anything, it's sitting in a warehouse or a storage room, you can always put down the warehouse it's in and the bin location that's associated with that asset. And we'll get into more about the warehouse and bin locations in 3 weeks. You have a PM route sequence, which we'll get into here in a little bit. Lockout, tagout, if that's required on that asset when a technician goes to work on the asset. Does it require lockout, tagout? Manufacturer, if you know the manufacturer, you can do a model number and a serial number So any information about that boiler, we can put some additional information down here to, again, assist the technician at doing his job better. We want to provide as much information to the technician as we can, so when he or she goes out there to do preventative maintenance or even repair work, they know exactly which boiler or which asset they've got to work on, what the asset is, and what to expect. We can also associate parts from inventory to a particular asset. Say you carry 100 different V-belts in your inventory, and for this particular boiler, the fan inside needs 60-inch V-belt. You can put down that particular part is associated with it here, and that'll make, again, the technician's job a lot easier if they know what parts are associated with an asset. For what we're doing for the initial implementation, we're not going to get that granular, but after the initial, you guys are more than welcome to go in and apply that additional information to your assets. We have a status for the asset. Most assets are active, meaning they're readily available and in use. We do have other statuses where they can be inactive, sold, demolished, under maintenance. If you have an asset that's going to be under maintenance for an extended period of time, you can change the status of that asset to maintenance, and that'll allow others to know that, hey, that asset's being worked on right now, it's down. Asset type, in this case, we've got central plant because it's a central plant. It's the boiler in a central plant. And then the asset group is the central plant boiler. Rentable just asks, is it a rentable item? Is it something that you'd assign to a person, like a vehicle, that they've got to sign out the keys, track the mileage on? You put a yes or no there. And then really important is the replacement tag. The replacement tag is placed in the database that allows you to put an existing barcode or asset tag number into AiM. So say you've already barcoded your assets, they have a number on them already. You can put that in the replacement tag field, and you won't have to go through and redo your barcodes to get it to work with our mobile application. We can flip a switch to where we use the replacement tag barcode rather than the ID barcode from AssetWorks or from AiM. Next, down at the bottom, it says component asset. You can have components, which are assets themselves, but say this boiler's got a control box that you PM separately from the boiler itself, but it's associated with the boiler. You can associate that down here as a component. Okay, that's the main part of the asset. So right now I'll go ahead and unmute everybody and see if there's any questions so far. Does anybody have any questions?
So far, so good.
Okay, great. I'm going to mute everybody again and continue forward. So on the left-hand side here, I already mentioned we've got the extra description. If I click on that, it gives me a big white text box that I can put 4,000 characters in. So if my 255 didn't suffice here, I can always use that. I have reference data, which just goes through. I've got a spot for a sales price, you know, how much did I pay for the item, or a spot for replacement cost, which we do have in the field. In one of the fields on the template is what is the replacement cost of the item. That's just for informational purposes. If you know the replacement cost, great. If not, oh well, and I'll reiterate that in a little bit. If it's associated to a specific shop, you can put a shop down and assign that item to a shop. It makes it easier. Or if it's a contractor that does the work on it. You can associate it to a contractor and a service contract. Next we have movable. Movable is a yes or no field that basically says, can I easily move this item? This is a steam plant boiler, so I'm assuming it's bolted down to the floor. It's not easily movable. Now, I might have a generator that is built onto a trailer that I tow around and can move from building to building as a backup generator. That would be easily movable. A vehicle that's an asset could be easily movable. So we have that field there just to allow us to know, is it something easy to move or is it something that's bolted down? Easy to move items, you know, they might walk away, they might move from one location to another location, and you might have to track it down from where you last seen it. We do have classification standard, but we don't use it for anything, so I'm just going to skip over that. Basically, it gives us the ability to provide additional information, but for what we're doing, it's not very useful to SUNY. We have attributes, and depending on what asset type and group that you select, there will be room for additional values that you can put in. Like vehicles have specific attributes or additional attributes. Generators may have how much electricity they produce per hour, what type of fuel they use, fuel capacity. Vehicles are the same way. Relocation just keeps a history of where that asset's been located. So if you have an easily movable asset, it might have gotten moved from one building to another building, and as you move the item, we keep track of that in a history log. And we will date and timestamp it. Right now, this asset was originally put in the system, so it doesn't have a relocation date because that's the original location for the asset. We're going to skip over account setup. We have warranty. If you have a warranty on the assets, you can keep track of that information inside of AiM to help make things a little bit easier on you. You got a description, a contractor, address, a contract date, and the start and end date of the warranty. I mentioned before, parts list. You can do inventory parts, or if we've got a vendor catalog in the system, you can choose from the vendor catalog what parts are associated to this asset. Very easy to use setup here. So when you're looking for something, I know when we did inventory parts, which I'll get into in a few weeks, we went based off the Grainger catalog as to how you find the class, commodity, and inventory item to look up a part. If you go onto Grainger's website and search for a specific part, it'll follow the class, commodity, and inventory item. Vendor catalog, we don't have any in the system yet, but we look forward to getting some of those into the system. Just makes it easier, again, on the technician if he knows or she knows what parts are associated to that asset. Active PM templates, I'm going to briefly go over this and then we'll come back to it, but it basically shows me what PM is associated to this boiler, and then I can go into details. We have templates, and we have PM standards. I'll go into the difference here in just about 10 minutes, or maybe sooner. If your asset has a meter and you want to track hours or mileage or various information, whether it be a gas gauge water pressure gauge or whatnot, you can put in a meter for an asset. In this case, there's a rollover point and a rollover count. The last reading and the reading date gives you the ability, say you've got a Bobcat and you want to track the meter reading once a month, see how many hours you're utilizing. You can keep track of that information here with the asset. Next, we have location served, and location served, seeing as how this is a central plant boiler, we have the ability to put down all the locations that the central plant boiler heats, and we can make it an entire facility, a property, specific locations, all the way down to a specific floor that it may heat or cool. Say you have an air handling unit and it only works or only provides air for the first and second floor, then you have a second one that does the third floor and a third one that does the fourth and fifth floors. You can associate that with this particular form here. After that, if you have vehicle information, here we've got additional information for vehicles: transmission, engine, fuel capacity, year, VIN number, number of passengers, license plate, the exterior, interior, and trim. Different fuel types that you can put in, cost and end date if you want to utilize that information. The majority of this information, the passenger's license and whatnot, is good information to have on a vehicle. One of the things that it doesn't have is information regarding inspections that need to be done once a year, or if it's a new vehicle, every or 2 years after the purchase of the vehicle. But that could be an attribute under vehicles. Employees, basically what employee is for is if the asset is tied to an employee, an employee is responsible for that asset. They've taken possession of that asset, and over a period of time they'll get it back. That's maybe you assign an employee a chainsaw or a set of expensive equipment that's got to be PM'd, and they're going to utilize it for an extended period of time. You can assign it to an employee. Like I mentioned, you have the replacement tag. If you have a replacement tag and you change the tag number on the asset, it keeps a history of the replacement tag number, the start, end date, who changed it, and the name. Basically, we give you guys the flexibility to put your own barcoding on, or any asset tag that you have that exists, or you can utilize, again, our asset tag number. You have up here, you can email a copy of this. Any email sent from the system will be in the sent email here. Any notes about the assets will be in the notes log. And then if there's any user-defined fields, which our assets don't have any, we put in the additional fields. We have status history, which just keeps a history of any status changes on this particular asset. So if I were to go and edit the asset right now, it would then record the status of it and the changes I made. And then finally, one of my favorite features in this is related documents. A lot of people have paper copies, or they receive a PDF of a user manual, an operator's manual, a maintenance manual, a PM schedule, and all this documentation when you purchase a new piece of equipment, or you have a piece of equipment and you look for a place to store it that's easily available. You might have it out on a bookshelf somewhere, but here we're able to import the documents into AiM, and make it readily available for a technician or an asset manager that's trying to put in the PM schedule. You know, all that information can go here tied directly to the asset. One, it keeps things uniform, and two, it keeps things together in one place, makes it a lot easier on the technician. So again, I keep saying, makes things easier on the technician throughout my demo here, because that's our goal with AiM and O&M, is to make things easier on the technician and the supervisor. If the supervisor doesn't have to say, hey, go here, look it up here, and you know, we don't have a card catalog for maintenance manuals. I don't even know if they still have those in the library. So that is an asset in a nutshell. I'll go ahead and unmute everybody and see if anybody's got any questions. So please, if you got questions, feel free.
Yes, Daniel?
Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel. I was thinking of facilities. So the master asset, you can basically set that up in every department, or that has to be set up under FIT in general. I mean, I know I'm sorry, I came in a little late.
No, it's not necessarily tied to a department. It's just tied to a location or a building.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel?
So I'm saying, like, operation portion would be a little different from the facility portion module. But in the facilities module, if we have master assets that we want to identify, and like what you call it, the related documents, but if you want to file documents on each one of those, is that a module that you can set up individually for a department?
So let me see if I understand what you're asking. You have a master asset, and then you have children of that master asset, and you want to keep the documentation for all of it together?
Or you can keep it separate?
Or, yes, you could keep it separate if you like as well. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Phil, did you have a question?
Yes, I just got essentially two questions. When you mentioned the meters, if you have some maintenance that is generated by the equipment runtime, does this give you that options to do that?
Under assets, it does not.
Okay.
But when I get into a high-level overview of preventative maintenance, you can set up your preventative maintenance by meter. Okay.
And if you have a piece of equipment that has an asset, as you kind of introduce it, that has like multiple trades that kind of work on it, how would it be set up? Would it allow you to do that?
Yeah, you just set up the asset. You just don't assign it to a shop.
But I mean, what I'm saying is, it might have multiple shops that are responsible to do maintenance on that piece of equipment. Now, you know, it could be like some mechanics, the electricians. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's not a problem. An asset just goes into the system, and whenever a work order is generated, say you've got multiple shops that need to work on it, that work order will create a phase for each one of those shops.
Okay.
Which I touched lightly 2 weeks ago on work orders and phases, but I'll go back here for a minute.
Thank you.
So we have a work order. Let's see if I've got one in the system here. I do. I've got lots of them in the system. So in here, I have a phase right now. I've got it assigned to a particular shop. If I have a need because I'm setting up a freshman orientation is my work order, I'm going to need more than just HVAC to set up freshman orientation or to ensure freshman orientation's ready to go. You know, they've got the chillers on a little bit lower, or on with the temperature set a little bit lower to help offset all the heat. I might have movers or expediters that are going to come in and set up the chairs. You know, it'd be the same thing as doing a work order for an asset. I can have multiple shops associated to the work order for that one asset.
Okay, then just a quick follow-up to that. And if the PM that is scheduled for that asset by the different shops, if they have a different periodicity, you know, maybe, you know, some needs to be checked every 6 months, where actually the electrician might only need to inspect the electrical component once a year. Would that send something separate for each one, correct?
Yeah, that would be a separate work order for each one.
Okay.
Unless at that period of time they have overlapping PMs for that piece of equipment, then it'll generate one work order with multiple phases, one phase for each of the shops.
Okay, thank you.
So here I'll go into preventative maintenance. Does anybody else have any additional questions before I move on to preventative maintenance?
Yes, Daniel, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Amanda. I just have a question with respect to assets, because there's been a little bit of confusion with our IT department and our department for facilities and buildings and grounds.
Okay.
With respect to recording assets, is it for any type of asset or only commercial assets? For example, like boilers only?
It's the asset information that you're collecting is for anything that has preventative maintenance done to it. So anything that facilities would go on and do work on, or has scheduled work like preventative maintenance.
Okay, so for example, if we record assets such as computers, desks, things of that nature, we would not be able to put that on this, or would we?
You could if you wanted to.
Okay.
But you don't have to put computers and desks into AiM O&M.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so just to extend on that and clarify that for everybody and those that will watch the video, basically the assets are what I call PMable assets, or anything that gets preventative maintenance done on it, or anything that you might create a work order for that needs repaired. You can create, we can put an asset in as a room. You can say you PM your res hall rooms, and you don't want to put in, well, I fixed the sink. That's not really an asset, but so you wouldn't want to put in every sink, but you say you've got to do preventative maintenance on eye wash stations. Those have to be checked regularly, I think on a monthly basis. They all share the same PM. You'd want to put in all your eye wash stations. If you have shower stations or things like that with regular PMs, you'd want to put stuff like that in. Okay? Any additional questions? Nope. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put you all on mute again. And we'll go to preventative maintenance. Now, as I've been talking about PM standards and PM templates. So I'll explain the difference between a PM standard, and if I search here, I've got a variety of them. And what a PM standard is, if I pull up this first one, which is a yearly, it's for an air conditioning split system, DX, air-cooled up to 10 tons annual. Annual being the frequency. Estimated labor hours, 1.72 hours. I've got a reference number up here because this came from a reference guide from RS Means. So we referenced where we received this information from. And then we have our checkpoints for our PM. So that is a PM standard. It's the PM itself, the guidebook for the technician to follow. A PM template is the association of a PM standard to a set of assets. So here I have boiler monthly PM, the type, it's preventative maintenance, the status is going to be open, it's monthly, fixed, it's property by template, which property by template is it's going to do a work order for each individual property and not a work order for each individual asset. So then if I click on the phase, I have down here at the bottom, at the top I've got all the same information. But down here at the bottom I have a list of assets, and we associate these assets. I'm going to flip back through here. By just loading the asset, and I can do contains boiler, and then I can select all my boilers that pertain to that PM standard. So my central plant boilers might have a different PM than my other boilers, whatever my POB boiler, Jacobson boilers are. And my boiler house, they may be different in the way of how we PM them, but in this case, for example, I selected them all. So when I generate my PM, I'll have a work order by building with phases for each one of these boilers. So if my central plant has 3 boilers in it, I'll have a work order with 3 phases, 1 for each boiler. So that's PMs in a nutshell, just a high-level overview without going into too detail. Here you can see the PM standard that I chose to go along with it that's assigned to the template. So any questions on PMs?
Yes, Daniel?
Yeah.
This is Phil again. Question for you. So I think you said that when you have multiple pieces of equipment in the same building, for example, they will print out one for each one. So it will print out for each step. So how would something that, like a building that has 20 or 30 air handlers and fans and all those things, they kind of have the similar PM. So you're going to get 30 pages of those? Yeah,
you can have many phases for that one work order.
Because, I'll give you an example, like the one we have right now. What it does is gives you the first page, kind of lists all the pieces of equipment that you have assigned to the building, and then it kind of gives you your templates of what needs to be done for each one. So, you get 2 to 3 pages. If I have 30 pieces of equipment in one building, kind of have same PM, I'm going to get 30 pieces of paper for that building for the technicians to do the PM on it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so it'll have a phase per asset, because each asset could pass or fail, but it's just one work order per building. So say I've got, again, my example from earlier was I generate these, I've got 3 assets in the same central plants, or 3 boilers in the same central plant. I'm going to have one work order with 3 phases, 1 for each of those separate boilers. Now the PM will be the exact same PM over and over again, but the phase is what I'm going to tie my time to. So if I go back to a work order. I have my phase here, and I associate time to the phase itself. So here I go in and I'd add whatever time it took. If it took 3 hours to fix the blower in the conference room because it was making a grinding noise, I put in my 3 hours, and that goes towards that one phase. So say I have multiple phases in my work order, I want to know how long it took to PM each individual asset. The first boiler may have taken 5 or 50 minutes, while the second boiler needed a little bit more love, and it took an hour and a half. Well, you can start to build up averages and say, okay, my average PM time for my boilers is an hour and 13 minutes. To do a PM, I should plan an hour and 13 minutes as my expected time to get it done, which helps you plan out things better as things go forward. With that, like I said, the RS means data has estimated hours. Now, just because they're estimated hours doesn't mean that's exactly how long it's going to take a technician to do it. That's just how long they estimate the work to take. It may take your technician more time, it may take your technician less time. They even account for the time it takes to fill out the PM form. So, Phil, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions? No? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and start going over the template, and then once we're done with the template, I'll show you a filled-in template as an example, and we'll go from there. I'm going to mute you all now. Okay, so in the template, everybody's got a folder out on their OneDrive that contains two folders, a shops and employees from their last session, and an assets folder. Inside there, you have instructions for adding assets, and then you have this asset template. The asset template is unique to your campus. So in this case, I've got sysadmin opened up here. So when I click on the drop-down for multi-tenant ID, unlike our shops and employees template where it had a bunch of region codes, this one only has one. Next, I type in a description for my asset. So maybe I want an air handler unit. And then I have asset type. So asset type's a drop down, and for some weird reason, Excel decided to start at the bottom of my list instead of at the top of my list, but it's in alphabetical order. This would fall under HVAC. From there, I have an asset group, and at the top of this one, since it starts at the top, I have air handling units, and I have a list of other HVAC items. Well, say I didn't choose HVAC and I chose plumbing. Notice my list here is different. So I have a different list under plumbing for asset groups than I did for HVAC. So our drop-downs are smart drop-downs. They adapt as you make changes to them, and they make things a lot easier for you. So here's the statuses I had mentioned earlier. You have active, demo, disposed, inactive, pending renewal, and maintenance. More than likely, most of your assets that you're putting into AiM today are going to be active or maintenance. They could be pending if they're in a new building that's being constructed and you've got a list of assets already. You shouldn't have anything that's demoed, disposed, or inactive or renewal. Okay, and that's noted in the instructions. Next we have, I'll go ahead and select active. Next we have the replacement tag. So this is where if we had a pre-existing barcode, I can go ahead and put the asset tag number in there, and I can use that to select or use that asset tag versus the AiM generated asset tag. So again, if I already have my assets tagged, I can easily go through and reuse my existing tags and not have to waste time or energy on regenerating that information. Next, I need a region, facility, and property for an asset at a bare minimum. And then not required is a location, but again, if we're looking to make things easier for your technicians, if you have a location of an asset, a room, whether it be room 203 or whatever, that air handler unit may be located, or maintenance room, if you can put a location down, that provides them with more information to find the asset a lot quicker. So here I'll pick my region, which I only have one. From there, it'll give me a list of facilities. If it comes up red on any of these, don't mind it. That's just, for some reason, the conditional formatting that Asset Works supplied didn't quite, doesn't quite work on some of these. So if it's red, disregard. Keep moving forward. Property. So under Plaza, I've got a list of properties here, but they're numbers. What do numbers mean to me? I don't know what these are. So what I did is I left the property tab here. You can easily search your region, your facility, your property, and then a description. So I'm in the federal building, so I want 0012. And then from there, it'll give me the location, which are the rooms in 0012. If I chose a different property, it would give me the rooms under that property itself. So again, smart drop-downs, they make it a lot easier for you to search. So, but here, I've got a bunch of locations. I'm not quite sure what they mean, where they are, what they're doing. So I've got a locations tab. Here I can look up region, facility, property, location, description. So if I'm looking for the boiler room, right here I have the north boiler room. Sorry, that's a little small. There we go. The north boiler room, which is B007N. So if I go back to asset, instead of putting an air handler unit in my office, I can go to B. Well, might help if I had the right building. That's in building 5. See? So it's easy to make mistakes. Make sure you're under the right building. So if I go down to building 12, here we are. We've got locksmith, I got some vacant offices, storage, restrooms, reception, file room. No, we'll leave it in F210 for our demonstration here. So if we go to asset, I have a location. Next, I have a manufacturer. Again, this field's not required. The manufacturer, the model, the serial number, not required, nice to have. You have a drop down for the manufacturer. For some reason, this one starts at the bottom as well, but they're in alphabetical order. If you cannot find your manufacturer, which acronyms are spelled out, so GE would be General Electric, because you've got General Elevator as well. GM is General Motors, and so on and so forth. GMC should not be in there. So we try to spell everything out when we put this together. But say you go through this list and you don't see what it is you're looking for, we go to the Manufacturers tab, and here's the list of all those manufacturers. If I go to the bottom of the list, say Mopar decided to make an air handler unit, and I go back to Assets, my drop down, there's Mopar. Then I can type in my model, and my serial number. Is it movable? No. And then if I know a replacement cost, I can put a replacement cost in. So that's assets. Not a whole lot of information required for the collection of assets. It's more the number of assets that you have to collect. So putting in the details, you can always copy and paste if you have a spreadsheet already. The information, if you have it by asset type, you know that they're all, or if you can sort it by a type of asset, it makes it real easy. You can fill in, just, if I can grab it, you can copy and paste. So that makes your job a lot easier, and if you do things by building, you can always copy and paste this information as well. We try to make the spreadsheet as easy as we could, and again, like I said, location, model, manufacturer, serial number, they're all nice to have. They're great for the technicians. Not required at this point in time. Whether or not it's movable, and it's a nice to have, we prefer, if you know it's easily movable, it's a simple wire in. And then a replacement cost, this is 100% a nice to have. Do not stress over a replacement cost whatsoever. It's there to help you with reporting. If you're spending, you know, $500 every PM to work on an old air handler unit that's 20 years old versus spending $7 grand to buy a new air handler unit, that's much more efficient and PMs are less. It shows how you can offset the cost and actually save money over time. Gives you that advantage as a facilities manager.
You all right?
So any questions on the asset template before I show you one that's filled out? No questions? Okay, I'm going to leave you all off of mute right now. I'll show you one that's filled out. So here we have Upstate. Basically they had different descriptions for their elevators, which they went ahead and they put their elevators in first. Then they had their durables, so they do PMs on clothes dryers, dishwashers. They have some battery banks and switch gears that they've got to do preventative maintenance on and checks, inspections. So they've got that under electrical. They've got different disconnects for pumps. You know, a lot of different pieces of information here. And then if I scroll across, I've got the replacement tag, a region, facility, property, and then a lot of these I have the location for, which is great. If I go across, they didn't put a manufacturer, a model, or a serial number. That was, again, optional information. And then whether or not it was movable. And that about sums it up. So, again, any questions on the asset template? No? Okay, well, that concludes my demonstration this week. You guys were my last ones. And I'll post the recordings, probably not today, but like I said, early next week on our YouTube channel, which you can get to from the Office of Capital Facilities webpage. If you don't have a link to that, there's one on the bottom of my signature in my emails I've sent to you guys. You can click that link, it'll take you to the Office of Capital Facilities, go to AiM, and there will be a link there for our YouTube channel videos. I'll also, once I get them all posted, I'll send out an email as well, just to make things a little bit easier on everybody. But if there's no questions, I'm going to go ahead and stop the WebEx, or stop the recording.